In this video, I want to talk about a few things. I want to talk about what made me quit my 9 to 5 job as a software engineer, my 2 exit strategies, and how to achieve financial freedom. Now, when I worked as a software engineer, life went really fast. And I questioned myself a lot of times why this was happening. And after a little bit of research, I understood that people go into this thing called autopilot, where essentially we don't think a lot. We tend to do the same things every day, and our brain is kind of in a safe zone where it's not questioning life a lot. It's not questioning all the actions we do every day. And so we basically don't think that much. When I was working as a software engineer, this was pretty much my life. I was waking up, going to work, and then going to the gym. And after that, having dinner and then going to sleep and waking up again. You probably heard this thing many times where for some people, for most of the people, life is like an endless cycle until at some point you realize, damn, 5 years have passed, 10 years have passed, 20 years, 30 years. And this usually happens when something bad is in our life. So, for example, somebody dies, our girlfriend breaks up, and we are like, what happened? Who am I? What have I done in the past? We don't want to end up like this. And what was happening in my life is that I was trading 5 days for 2 days. So I was working for 5 days. That's a 5 pretty much. And I was doing the same thing every time. I was not socializing with other people. I was not living the life I wanted. All this for 2 days until it was weekend, and I was able to see my friends. I had the time to do the things I wanted to do. I could sleep more. 2 days at the cost of 5. Does it make sense? I'm not really sure. And also, if I wanted to go on vacation, I had 25 days of vacation. And every time I came back from vacation, I was thinking, why do I have to trade 25 days a year for a year? I always want to be on vacation. I don't want to live that life where I want to be on vacation for 25 days a year. That's not a lot. I want more. And the solution. What is the solution? Well, of course, here you live in autopilot and life is boring and time goes very fast. What can you do to don't be in autopilot anymore? To be, in a way, always scared, which sounds bad, but I will talk about this and I will tell you why it's not. So the solution is to break the routine. And this way, if we break the routine, if tomorrow you wake up in a different country, everything's gonna be new to you. You're gonna be lost in a city. People around you will speak a language you don't even speak. So your brain is gonna be scared. But at the same time, you will learn. And this is the key point of my presentation. Okay? So, the solution for this, in my opinion, and that's what I'm gonna do in a few months, is that, so back in the days, I was born in Italy. I'm Italian, right? That's the name of my channel. Then I went to the Netherlands. Here I am. And now, in a few months, in 2 months, I'm going to Paraguay. That is so far away, right? So, to me, to break the routine, imagine if I was born in Italy and I was living my entire life in Italy, I would have had known what there's around me, what's outside. How does it feel like living in Paraguay? How does it feel like living in Brazil? How does it feel like living in Colombia? How does it feel like going 2 months in Australia, living for 2 months in Australia? I would never be able to do that as a software engineer who works in an office, because I don't have 2 months of vacation in Australia and I don't have the freedom I want. So in order to break the routine, you need to travel. You go here, then tomorrow you go here, And then you realize you don't like Brazil, then you go to Colombia, and then you're like, I don't know, actually Paraguay was better, and then you go back to Paraguay. That's how you learn. You learn by trial, failing and trial. And the same thing applies to countries. The problem is that most of the people are scared to do so. And I can talk about this because I've done this already once. I've moved across different cities and I had to start my life over and over again many times. And I'm gonna do this in a few months again in a different continent. People is gonna speak Spanish. I speak no Spanish. I'm Italian, I know, but I don't speak any Spanish so far. I kind of understand people that speak Spanish, but I'm not really comfortable in speaking Spanish. So I will have to learn a new language. And the thing that's the sentence that everybody I hear around me who don't want to travel, who don't want to live in another country, is that they are scared that they don't know anybody there. And I don't understand what's wrong with this. What you have to do, one skill essential for every human being, is to be able to create a new life wherever this person goes. If I move to a new city, I'm confident that I will be able to create a new life easily, because I just have to speak with people. I need to develop myself in a way that I'm interesting, and then I need to develop some social skills, of course. But then it's simple. It's simple to make friends. Of course, people are gonna like you, and there's many ways to start from scratch in a new country. It's not like in the past century. This is 2026, and there's Facebook. There's Facebook groups. I've seen now I'm gonna move to Paraguay, and there's many groups about expat in Paraguay, digital nomads in Paraguay, internationals in Paraguay, in my example. And these are perfect places where to start. You can ask questions. You can check social activities that are happening around you, and you can get to know people that live in your same city from a social media. How cool is that? So you're not gonna use Facebook to post pictures of your cat. You're gonna use Facebook actually in a way that makes sense. That's gonna help you to develop a social group in a different place. Then other places where I believe is so easy to make friends is running clubs. Like, why is it so easy? It's so easy because everybody wants to make friends. So people are not gonna be closed. People go to running clubs not to run, because if they want to go to running, they would have run by themselves. They want to go to running clubs to meet people. Running clubs, paddle, if you can play padel. There's some clubs for expats. There's a lot of international pages that post, social activities, things that are happening in your city, and then language classes, which by the way are perfect because you're gonna meet people who just arrived in that country. If you go to Brazil and you go to a language class of Portuguese, you will find people who don't speak Portuguese. And why don't they speak Portuguese? Because they are expats, they are immigrants as you. It's people that come from different countries who can afford a language class, and these are the perfect places to meet new people because you have something in common. You have the struggle of moving to a different country, and people who just moved, they have this energy where they want to meet people, and like you, they want to recreate their life in a new country, so they're very open. Random picture about running clubs, pretty much. And now let's go over a big problem, because okay, this is a problem. I don't know anybody there, but most of the people can meet new people. But the biggest struggle is, how can I work and travel at the same time? I want to make this clear. This is not going to be easy. Not at all. Okay? Because most of the jobs, now of course it's easier, but most of the jobs, they are in the office, or they are hybrid. You work sometimes from home, sometimes from the office. So this is not very easy. But if you want to have that kind of life, that kind of freedom where you can go wherever you want, you are the boss of your time, then please try this. I came up with 2 different paths. I didn't choose this one personally, but this is better than nothing. I chose this, which I think is the most effective way, but also most scary way. And what I'm gonna do now is go over each of it. I'm gonna talk about what are the advantages of working remotely and what are the disadvantages. Same thing for the online business. If you are able to find a work remote, which it's, like I said, it's getting easier. The good thing is that you have a stable income. So you know how much you're gonna get every month. You know how much you're gonna get next month, which is quite important. You have a contract, okay? Second of all is the location freedom. We spoke about this earlier. You can go wherever you want. If you hate winter, what you can do is that every 6 months you move in a different place. How cool is that? If I don't like the place, I'm not gonna complain about a place. I'm just gonna leave. I have this freedom. And you can do geographical arbitrage, meaning that if you're from the West, if you're from Europe or a wealthy country, you can get a job there. Or even if you're not from there, you can just get a job, for example, in the US. You can go to Mexico and you're gonna live like a king. You're gonna pay probably less taxes, where there's some places where you pay less taxes, like where I'm going to, Paraguay. Less taxes, less living expenses, maybe better weather. This is a big one. But there's also some negative things. The first one is no time freedom. That's because you still have a boss, you still have somebody paying you, you still have a client. So if the boss says we're gonna have this meeting at 5 p.m., you likely have to say yes. Another problem is that it's not scalable. That to me is very important. So if you start to make 5,000 euros a month, it's not easy to scale it up, because in that case you will have a business. So the money you earn is very connected to the time you put into the job. The next one is time control, which is connected to the previous point. There's a ceiling of money you can earn. As a software engineer, you won't be able to scale it, and you won't be able to earn 10 millions unless you have some stocks from the company you work for. And then the next one is no passive income. You can be like, I'm gonna stop working for 2 months, I'm gonna still earn money. It's not gonna happen. So if you put time, you're gonna earn money. If you don't put time, you won't earn any money. It's very bad. So let's go over the advantages of building an online business. You're gonna have, of course, as before, location freedom, as before, geographical arbitrage, but you also have time freedom, because you can do whatever you want. If one day you don't want to work, you don't work. If you want to work 24 hours in a day, you can do that, and then take the next month off. You can do whatever you want. You can wake up whenever you want. You don't have to put an alarm. You can work in the night. If you can work in the morning if you want to. You can work whenever you want. You have no boss. It's scalable. If you find a business model that works, you can scale it up. And that to me is super interesting. It's super cool. Like the feeling of having a scalable business and being able to scale it up, to me it's super cool. You feel like a king. You have full control, like I said, you have no boss, you have control. But having control is also a negative thing, because you must have discipline. If you have no discipline, you're cooked. Because when you have a lot of control, there's no mom, there's no boss telling you what to do. It's up to you. So if you gotta wake up at 8, if you have a a deadline, it's up to you to finish the deadline on time, because otherwise probably you will make less money. So it's in your own best interest to work effectively in an effective way. Sorry about my English. Passive income. This is huge. If you have an online business that works, you can have employees. And then these people are going to work for you. And it doesn't mean that you won't have work at all, but it means that you can work less and slowly retire. And the last advantage that I come up with is that it's an asset. So usually what happens is that people that have an online business, they don't have a big salary. And the reason of that is that they reinvest, instead of withdrawing the money into a salary, what they do is that they reinvest it into the business, because they believe that long term they will be able to sell the business. So they don't get money today, but after some time they will have a big chunk of money. So all this to say that in here, when you're an employee, you have nothing. You just have your brain. That's it. But when you have an online business, not only you can make money and give yourself a salary, but if it's a business that works, you can sell it, which will make you a lot of money. However, there's two big problems about the online business, because right now it feels amazing, right? You have all this green stuff. That's amazing. Well, as always, with a higher risk, it comes high reward. So you gotta you gotta invest time, sometimes money, most of the times money, and nobody tells you that's gonna work. Now, if you study to become a doctor, there's a very high chance that you're gonna become a doctor. If you pass all the exams, if you do everything you have to do, you might have to study for 10 years, but there's a big chance that you're gonna make it. But if you work for 10 years in a business, nobody tells you, hey, you're gonna make this amount of money in 10 years. You invest, but you don't know if you're gonna get any return, which is hard to do, trust me, because you must have high belief in yourself and in your idea to be able to make a successful business, because you're unsure about so many things. And that's why with a high risk comes a lot of rewards. If you're able to do this, you're gonna have an amazing life, trust me. So I want to talk about some calculation I did about my life. Where was it? Oh, this is my life in the Netherlands. I have an income of 4,500 euros, taxes, rent, expensive, cost of living 400, health insurance 150, and then I have 1,750 euros left, which is good, but it could be more. It could always be more. We want to make more money. What happens if I move to Paraguay? Well, I'm going to get the same income. There's no tax from income outside Paraguay. So in my case, it will be the US. The rent will be cheaper, but not only cheaper, it's going to be also better. You have a better house. Here I'm living in the Netherlands. I'm living in a small house for 1,200 euros. Over there for 600, you have a way better place. Cost of living, I put it the same because what I expect to happen is that it's going to be the same, although it's cheaper, because you're going to have a better life. You won't stress too much about going to restaurants. You won't stress too much about going shopping, because everything's going to be cheaper. If you want to take an Uber, you can do an Uber, easy. But overall, you'll spend less money and have more service for you. Health insurance, pretty much the same. And as you can see, you're going to save pretty much the double of the money. And here's the next chapter of this lecture. How do I become financially stable, financially independent? You have to invest. Invest. So you either invest in your business, which was over here, because it's an asset, and later on you're gonna sell it, and then you're gonna invest in the world, or you invest your salary into the world, into the stocks, into an ETF. Remember, investing in an ETF won't make you rich, but it will make you richer. And if you have a lot of money, you are gonna earn a lot of money every year. Let's do an example. If I have 100k invested, I will earn 8,000 euros per year. And if I save 3,000 euros, 350, it will take 2.3 years to achieve 100k. 8,000 euros might seem not a lot, but if you live in a place like Paraguay, it starts to cover your expenses. And to me, the idea of being able, not having to work. So I'm going to work anyways. I'm going to work on my business. I'll be able to scale it up and sell it one day. But the idea of not having to be stressed about, will I make it? Will I not make it? Will I survive? Do I have to sell my stocks? No. The fact that I'm able to live here with, how much is it? 600, 400, 150, with 1,100 euros, I'm able to live. With 100k invested, you can almost live like that. You can almost live in that country. If you have 250k invested, you will earn, your portfolio is gonna appreciate of 20,000 euros, and that will be enough to live in Paraguay. Then imagine this scenario. You work in a business. You sell the business. What you do is that you invest. Let's say you earn 5 million by selling the business. You're going to earn 400k every year. If you imagine an appreciation of 8%. 400k of free money every year. How crazy is that? So you invest into this, and this becomes your employer basically, who pays you every year 400k. And imagine what kind of life can you live with 400k in Paraguay. You will be like a king. That was it for my presentation. Please, 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 don't waste your life, which was I was doing until not long ago. Please don't do that. You don't know. You can be like, oh, I'm from Italy. It's an amazing country. I'm okay here. But how do you know that you're okay here? Imagine yourself being 90 years old. Tomorrow you're gonna die. How cool would it be to think that, I lived in Australia, I lived in Brazil, I lived in the States, I lived in Canada, compared to just I lived in Italy. You will never know how it feels like to live in the US. You will never know how it feels to live in Brazil. Please have more experiences in life, because that's the meaning of life. To become an interesting person, to have life experiences, to talk with your friends about all your experiences. Please don't waste your life.